Okay, welcome back, folks. This is Mr. Turboville, and we're talking about Module 1, Section 2, characteristics of a function graphs, and we've already talked about the positive and negative, increasing, decreasing, maximum value, minimum value. We talked about the big idea. Anytime they're asking for a function value, that's code for y. And then we also talked about average rate of change, which is code for slope, which you can do the y's, subtract, yum yums on a picnic table we talk about there. And so we've already talked about all those things. So now we're ready to talk about, looking at some different ways to use some of this information in sketching some little graphs, given some scenarios. So over here on page 18, they give you this idea here. And we got this, that deal goes, Lyme disease is a bacterial infection transmitted by humans by ticks. When an infected tick bites a human, the probability of the transmission is a function of the time since the tick attached itself to the skin. A function, that basically means the longer this is, it has an effect on the probability of that you're going to get infected with Lyme disease. The longer it's been on, kind of thing. That's what they're talking about. So during the first 24 hours, the probability is 0. So down here we have hours, and so from 0 to 2, it's not going up at all. Okay, it's staying at 0 in the first 24 hours. Okay, during the next 3 24-hour periods, so it's going to give us something so we've got 24-hour period, then another one, and then another one. Okay, so the rate of change of the probability is always positive. Okay, so we already know, so for the next 24-hour periods, so from 24 to 48 is going to be positive, 48 to 72, 72 to 96 is going to be positive, okay? But, so it says but now, it is much greater for the middle period than for the other two periods. Okay, so what's going on here? So they didn't give us exact numbers, did they? So we had to figure out. So what they did here is they did a little gradual increase in the first 24 hours. So, nothing's happening at first 24 hours. So the second 24 hours here, we get a little bit of increase. But then once you pass that 2-day mark, that 48 hours, it gets crazy. So the probability starts going way up real fast. And then it still keeps on going pretty bad, but it starts leveling off slightly is how that shows. So you wouldn't have to use these exact points, but you would have to have something similar to this if you're going to do what they've asked you to do. Okay? And then it says after 96 hours, okay, the probability is almost 100. So we're close to 100 up here already. So we're just going to kind of level it off and try to stay just below, okay, this 100 mark. So they kind of tough to do. So that's the idea there. But that's all well and good. Let's look at the next one. I think this one's going to be more helpful and for doing some of the different things for your homework. Okay. So a couple of things we got to pay attention to here is before we get started, I'm noticing something very important. It says years since 1974. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So that means 1974, well, that's the same thing as year 0. And 1975, what year is that? That's year 1. 1976, that's year 2. 1977, that's year 3. And you get the idea. Okay, because it's years since 1974. So that's year 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Okay, so I got this set up from 74 to 80. So 0 is 74, and we got out here, it's going to be 80 kind of thing. Measles incidence really shot up. In 1975, there was a slight increase in incidence, but the next 2 years saw a substantial increase in the incidence, which reached a maximum in 1977 of about 26 cases per 100,000 people. Whew. Okay, so from 1977 to 1979, the incident fell to about 5 cases. All right, so let's get this thing started before we go all the way through. Let's get this thing going. So it says in 1975, so that's 1 year, okay, it was a slight incident increase. So, but the next 2 years were substantial increases, which reached a maximum. Okay, here we go. Maximum in 1977. So that's year 3. So I want to start with year 3, and it says in a maximum of 26 cases. So in year 3, it's 26. Now, why do I want to start there? Because that's a certain number. And then we can come back in and fits this rest. So in 1975, 1 year, slight increase. So what's so for the first year, slight increase. Okay, and which for the next 2 years saw substantial increases. Okay, so and then from here. And then up to there. Pretty substantial increases, okay? So just a slight increase and boom, boom, crazy. Alright? And then from 1977, which we said was 3 on my chart, okay, to 1979, so that would be 4 or 5. Okay, so we're going to go over here to 5. The incidents fell 5 cases, okay, per 100,000 people. So we got to drop this thing down basically 5 from here to here. So somewhere about there. So, okay. Now the incidents fell much faster from 77 to 78, then from 78 to 79. Well, looky there. We're going to have to erase it. We got too far ahead of ourselves. Okay? So we're still going to land here, but we're going to go from here real steep and then what? Level off a little bit. Whew. And then it says finally, from 79 to 80, the incidents stayed about the same. So this is 79 to 80, right about the same. Okay, so that gives you an idea. So let's jump over here to the homework section and look at that. So again, now this one's saying starting from, where's it starting from? Years since 1944. Let me back off on this and see if I can't get a little bit bigger for us so you can kind of track a little bit easier. Okay, so this is page 25 if you're trying to figure out what's going on. Number 11. Okay, move this over a little bit. So here we go. Now this says years since 1944. So what is that telling me here? 1944 is year 0. 1945 is year 1. 1946 is year 2. So on and so forth, okay? So we got 44 to 74. So from 1944 to 58. So how many years is this? So from 44 to 58, so 44 to 54 is 10 plus 4 more. So that's 14 years. Okay. Had a gradual increase in the number of warheads from 0 to 5,000. Okay, and this is in thousands here. So at 14, right? At 14, we're going to put a dot at 5 because it's in 1,000s, right? All right, and then from 58 to 66, so how many years is that? 58 to 66, well, there's 6 plus 2 more makes 8 years. Okay, so 14 plus 8 more, what's that going to make it? 22? 22? All right, on 22, it says it rapidly increased to a maximum of 32. So it shot up real quick to right in here somewhere. Okay, so our first section went from 0 to 5. Then our next section goes up here like that. Okay, now we still have from here to here, and then from here to here. So you need to finish from here, okay? So you need to finish. I've gotten you started, okay? And that's pretty much the whole thing with that guy. All right. And then next one starts on 14. So next few are sketches. Now the thing that's weird about 14, one of the weirdest things about this, I'll move this over and make it a little smaller so I can work with it. What is it saying here? It says that wingspan is here and the airplane length is here. So when you're looking at these pictures, this is wingspan. Okay, and this is length. So it's easy to get this backwards because this is going left and right. So they could have just as easily turned these planes the other direction, but they chose not to. Okay, so to do it that way. So you had to pay real close attention. So I'm going to graph the first one and the last one, okay? Just because I'm not going to do all of it. So our first one here is, so our length is 130. Get up here. It's 130, so this is 20, 40, 60, so 130 right about here. And this isn't part of my graph. I'm just kind of marking it for my spot. And then 113, so there's 120. 10 would be about here, so 13 just a little bit more. So as I come out here, I would say that's my first dot right there. My first dot. I'm going to, okay, so that's my first one for the little plane. Now the biggest plane is got 209, so here's 200 and there's 220, so there's 210. Okay, so there's about 209 right there. And then 200 should be right here, right on the dot, right? So right about there. And so, okay, and then so you're going to fill in with all these scatter plots. And then you're just going to sketch a line somewhere through here, okay? So you're just going to go, yeah, that's pretty terrible. Let's change colors here. So you're going to finish this off, and then you're eventually going to draw some kind of line to go through here, okay? All right. And now it says, now use the line to make your prediction that if the wingspan, if the length is this, then what is that according to our little line we drew, okay? So if the length is 220 right here, where would be the wingspan? Well, I just drew this line in. You need to put the rest of these in and draw your own line to be able to make this kind of prediction. But this is getting you set up for the regression equations, which are coming up next, okay? And I'm going to do a separate video just for regression lines, okay? So that's where these guys right here are going to cook in. All right, hopefully that section was helpful to you. Have a good day.